Hello, beautiful manifestors. It is Olivia Grace, and I am back with another video for you guys. And today we're going to be talking about how to detach, specifically and especially when you are obsessing over a desire. Doesn't necessarily have to be a specific person. It could be anything, money, anything that you're trying to manifest, right? So I'm going to talk about this. Gonna try and keep this video a little short because I want to record another one right after. But yeah, before we get started, I am Olivia Grace. This is the Master Manifestors channel. Here I talk about manifestation, mainly focusing on law of assumption. So if you're into that and you are wanting to know more, then definitely subscribe, follow, comment, share the video, all that great stuff. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, there are links in the description to do so. I'm also hosting a group coaching for specific person manifestation, and that is for the month of August. Early bird pricing is available until the 17th. This should be posted before the 17th, so you guys have until then to get the early bird pricing. So email me if you would like details and more info on that, okay? So yeah, I think that's about it. So let's get into the video. There's a few things that I want to touch on with detachment because, you know, a lot of people, of course, say, you know, oh, you don't need to detach and, you know, all of these things. And here's the thing, for a lot of people, they don't, right? Because understand that it's not so much what you're doing, right? It's more about what is the state that you're coming from when you're doing it, right? So these people that are telling you, you don't need to detach, are people who are a lot of the time, like, even though they're obsessing, they have some type of awareness of their power, some type of awareness and understanding of how manifestation works. So even if they're obsessing, even if they're desperate, even if they're spiraling, they have this back of the mind knowing that it's going to work out for me, right? Now, if you don't have that knowing and you're listening to these people telling you, you don't need to detach and you're just obsessing, but not only obsessing, you have no inkling of faith or trust that anything's going to work out. So you're just basically freaking out all along the way, right? Which is giving you a very unpleasant experience while manifesting. So let's really get into this, okay? First of all, why does detachment work, right? Because there's two ways to detach. One way is when you give up completely, right? And just say, I'm sick of this. I'm not doing this anymore. And a lot of people have their manifestation fall in after that, right? And I'll get into why. The other way to detach is by trusting, right? So this is that you're not attached to how long it's taking, where it's at, when is it gonna come, all of these things. You're just knowing and trusting, right? This is a master manifestor quality. Knowing and trusting that it must happen, period. It must happen. It has happened, right? Period. So why does it work, right? Because when you are detached, whether you drop it consciously and just give up, or you drop it in trust, you stop being aware of the lack of it, okay? So this is something that I've been talking with you guys a lot about on my channel. And I know I had the Shift Your SP in 20 Minutes video where people got great, amazing results, because when you are perpetually in trying mode, which looks like affirming all day, which looks like, you know, obsessing over the 3D or trying to binge, you know, watching videos, not because, you know, it just makes you feel good, but because you feel like there's something you're missing and you don't know what you're doing, a lot of different things, right? So when you're doing that, and every time you say, okay, I'm going to go script, or I'm going to go affirm, you are saying most of the time, because there's different states for that too, but you're saying, I don't have this thing and I'm going to go do this thing, whether that be a technique, whatever, to make me have this thing, right? Which is fine, right? Because we all, how do we ever, like, I know if we have to kind of go through that part of I don't have a thing, I want to get it, and here's what I'm going to do to get that, right? So, but what you don't want to do, and what keeps people from getting results, is that they stay in that state of I don't have, and I'm doing these things to get the thing that I don't have. And so you stay in the state where you are dominantly aware that you don't have it. And so it continues to elude you, right? So that day that finally comes where you say, fuck it, I'm tired. I'm tired of like hurting. I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of trying for this thing. I'm tired of trading my peace, right? And you stop doing all that. You stop trying to make it happen, but you also stop becoming mainly aware that it hasn't happened. You move on with your life. You start focusing elsewhere. And so your attention is not only not on the thing that you want, but it's not on the fact that you don't have it. And that allows for it to come through. All the work that you were doing, right? This was my experience. All the work and the affirming that I was doing filled in when I got into that state, okay? So the other way of even when you decide, like when you're trusting, right? Because here's the thing, you guys, when you have something, right? When you have something, which is what you're supposed to be thinking from when you're using the law of assumption, right? Is as if, what if I had it now, right? When you have something, you're not obsessed about it, right? You can think about your animal that you have, like your dog or your cat that you love very, very, very much, but you're not obsessed about it, right? When you didn't have a cat or a dog, and if you ever really, really wanted to get one, you were probably obsessed about it then, and you could look up all the dog stuff and, you know, looking up all the breeds and, you know, all the, like whatever, all the stuff that you would do. But when you get it, and it's not that you don't love your dog, right? You love your dog, it's your baby, right? But you're not obsessed over it, right? And I know some of you guys are probably like, I am obsessed with my dog, but you know what I mean, right? You're not constantly thinking like, is my dog there? Is my dog at home? Oh my God, is he there? Is he there? Like, what, is it coming? Is it happening? Like, you know, my dog's there and I get to play with him when I get home, right? Okay. So those are the two different types of detachment. Now, the different states is one state is coming from fear. It's never going to happen. I'm tired of this. It's not working out. I'm sick of this, which actually could also be, which I'm going to get into in a second, how to actually do this, right? The states that you can be in and how you actually conceptualize detachment, as well as some techniques that I feel like will help you to detach, especially when you're obsessed. Okay. But back to what I'm saying, there's a couple of different states. Like, again, it's not so much what you're doing, it's why you're doing it, right? What's the state you're coming from? So when you give up, right? A lot of time we're giving up from defeat, right? If you're giving up from defeat and saying, oh, nothing ever works out for me, I never get what I want, da, 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 you may still get some results, but then you may be one of those people who's like, I've been doing this for 10 years and I haven't gotten any results, right? Because you give up and you decide it's not going to work for me, and that's why I'm giving up. Sometimes we give up and we're giving up because we're choosing ourselves. Right? We're choosing ourselves, right? We're saying this whatever thing that I'm manifesting is not bringing me joy. It's not bringing me pleasure. And I don't want to continue to waste my life and my time and my energy on this thing, right? And when you're giving up from that point, which is a more empowered state, right? Things can kind of fill in a little bit more. Now, when you're in trust, right? That I feel like is kind of the supreme state, because it's the state that is simultaneously of having and not needing, right? Which is really the only state that having is. Needing is not a part of needing is not a part of having, right? So when you're knowing within, right? As long as you're desiring, and I read this in Neville's book, but as long as you're desiring, you're in the state of lack. You're in the state of, I don't have it, right? You don't desire things that you have. So being in the state of, I'm not desiring anymore, I'm accepting, right? I'm accepting that this is mine. It's going to happen. So I'm not worried, right? Okay. Now, how do we actually detach, right? Because there are a few things that help you to conceptualize and to actually do this, right? Number one is faith and trust, which this really deserves its own video, which I'm going to make. But this is something that is completely missing from the law of YouTube, right? It's present in the law of attraction. It's present in the law of assumption. It's not present in the law of YouTube, because the law of YouTube is not the law of assumption, as they are portraying it, right? So the law of YouTube is almost actually complete opposite to actual faith and trust, right? Because the law of YouTube is force until it pops through, right? Which is, again, no problem with that, but it can be a time for you, especially when your core beliefs aren't in place, especially when your self-concept is shit, especially when lots and lots of things, right? But when you have faith and trust, you guys, okay? This is why people that are religious and have maybe a horrible self-concept and have no understanding of the laws of reality and creation are still able to get what they want by prayer, because they are praying, believing that they will receive, period. That's it. That by itself will get you so much more than all of this other shit. And it's so much easier on yourself to just trust, you guys. The higher states of consciousness. Can you really see somebody who is in a very high state of consciousness affirming all day long? I mean, maybe, right? But not really. When there comes a point in your journey where you come above action, even manifestational action, right? And you just are a master of states, right? And you are easily able to embody and enter the state of whatever your desire is. And you can do that. Now, this is a thing, right? Because faith and trust is like the foundation of manifestation, okay? So this is why you guys are having such a time with no faith and trust and belief, right? Faith and trust is understanding that it is not you that is making this thing happen. It is God, the higher being, the God within you as you is making it happen on your behalf. You're not making anything happen, okay? So when you realize that, and you realize it's not your action anyway, even if you're doing all that, it's still not that. It's still something else that's going to create the unfolding. It's much easier to believe and understand too that your Father's ways are higher than yours. Your Father's perspective is higher than yours. What you see as impossible, right? Right now, what you see as impossible, God has infinite ways to make it happen. Infinite, okay? But a lot of times, especially when we're manifesting outrageous things or manifesting, you know, whatever, things that seem very hard to us, we can't see those ways, so we decide that it's impossible, right? And that fucks you up from the beginning. Instead of deciding that it's impossible, decide everything is possible. Because with God, all things are, right? All things are possible with God, right? In the Bible, Jesus said to them, with man, yeah, it's impossible. But with God, nothing is impossible, okay? But you can't experience that supernatural experience without faith. You can't. Faith is the substance, right? Faith is the substance that creates your solution, your circumstance, right? Your manifestation. So faith and trust, and that's going to be its own video, but faith and trust is fundamental, right? In detaching, because you're believing. Faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. Sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. So even if you're looking and you don't see anything, you're knowing that it's done. That's a master manifester, okay? Choose happiness, okay? Especially you guys that are like going through it with these specific people. Choose your happiness. This is the thing, you guys. Time is passing anyway. Do you realize how valuable your time is here? We feel like we have such a long life to live and so much time to just bullshit and fuck around and, you know, obsess about people who don't even do shit for us, don't pay no bills, don't, you know, even make us happy. And we're obsessing over them for years of our life. Choose happiness, you guys, because this is the problem. And even when it's not a specific person, whether it's money, a job, a vacation, whatever, you are putting your happiness in to that moment, that future moment, that wispy, airy, whatever, that my happiness is there. It's not here. And so when you realize that the perpetual now is always what's reflecting back to you, if you're always in the state of it's not here, it's over there somewhere, you will stay in that state. You'll be 80 years old saying it's not here, it's somewhere over there, right? It's here, it's now, right? Your happiness is here and now. Like, have you guys ever actually like came into the present moment? When you actually come into the present moment, and I highly suggest meditation for that, which I'll get into. But when you actually come into the present moment, you really feel, you literally feel, it's almost like a full body orgasm, if that even makes sense. It's like all of your cells are like orgasming. It's honestly, it's pure bliss and ecstasy in the present moment. No, there's nothing you need to do, because in the present moment, you don't need anything, right? You're like, but I do. I need this thing by tomorrow, or I need this thing by next week. But right now, you're fine. Everything that you need to be, you have, okay? So being present, choosing happiness, you guys, and it's going to get you, prioritize your happiness, right? That's going to get you what you want quicker anyway, okay? Okay, this one is my kind of one of my favorites, and what I do all the time is I keep deciding, right? So when I'm seeing something that I don't want, or I'm seeing something I don't like, or, you know, whatever, I keep deciding, you guys. I persist. Y'all, listen, I said this in another video, but that is it for me. You know, I'm somebody, like, being open and honest with you guys, I'm somebody who struggled a lot in my journey, you know? And that's why I can understand all these little pitfalls and all these little things that make the difference, right? But because of that, I had to learn and master persistence. Because the thing is, you guys, it's an instantaneous shift. It's really like a lot of you guys that are finding my channel now, right? A lot of people are saying like, oh my God, like I'm getting results. Like I'm, you know, everything's changing. It's changing. I've only been watching you for a few days and everything's changed, right? Because the change is instant. Right? It's instant. When you get the piece of information that makes it click for you, it's an instant shift, just like that. Okay. It's just you allowing yourself to get there. Sometimes, you guys, let me just be real. And this is not a limiting belief, but take it how you take it. Sometimes you're not in the consciousness to receive the thing that you want, period. That's honestly always the case with us. We're not in the consciousness of we're not in the identity to receive. And what the journey is becoming that person, right? We feel like the journey is getting that thing. So then I can identify, then I can be in that consciousness. No, the journey is the internal journey to the consciousness of having that thing, right? And being that version of yourself who has that thing, right? Who's expanded enough to have that thing, right? So you have to be willing to rise in that consciousness, right? And do whatever you have to do, try and fail, right? To be able to figure out like what it like to get to that thing, right? When the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? When the student is ready, when you're ready, you will align and bring in the piece of information that shifts you when you're ready. Okay. So this is why Abraham Hicks always talks about getting ready to be ready to be ready, right? That's really what that means. You're getting ready to be ready to be ready. You know what I mean? Okay. Keep deciding, you guys. Persist. Every time I'm looking at what I don't want, and you guys, I'm human. I get discouraged. I look at things and I'm like, oh my God, this isn't working, this and that. Okay. But I can persist in this, or I can persist in failure. Which one? I'm going to persist in the reality where I get what I want, period. I'm going to keep deciding that I am in the reality where I get what I want, period. Okay. All right. And the last part, the last how is to detach from the outcome and decide you'll be happy anyway. This goes back to what I was talking about earlier, which is that we have our happiness wrapped up in this thing, right? We are so convinced that this thing is the key to our happiness, and it's not, right? So when you decide, when you really decide within yourself that, you know what, my happiness is not dependent on this thing manifesting, right? My happiness is not dependent on this thing manifesting. And beyond that, I'm going to be happy regardless of how this works out, regardless of what happens tomorrow. And I know it's funny. You know, what's funny, you guys, is the things that nobody wants to do are the things that actually get you results very fast, right? Because nobody wants to accept that there's a possibility, or that there's even a reality where I don't get what I want. But you don't understand that the fear, right? The fear and the attachment to the need of, I need it to go this way, and the fear of what if it doesn't, and and oh my God, I'm gonna die. That feeling is what's making it take so long, right? When you can say, this is why, you guys, when you manifest something that you don't care about, when you're like, oh, wow, you know, I was just talking about green butterflies and then I see this swarm of green butterflies, and it happens just like that, and it's instant, right? Because you don't care, right? And I know it's hard to not care about something you really want. But the reason it's hard is because you have your happily ever after wrapped up in this thing, okay? So here are a few things that you guys can do to help you detach, okay? Number one is meditate, okay? Meditating is gonna help you, and I say this every video that I mention it, it's gonna help you in every area of your life, but especially in your manifestation work, because manifesting is a mental game, it's an energetic game, right? And meditation that's what meditation is, right? So meditate. I promise you, you guys, listen to me. If you are obsessing right now, I want you to just give yourself, not even a week, 3 days of meditating every single day. If you want to be really a high achiever, meditate day and night. And I don't mean for hours or even 30 minutes. I mean 10 minutes. That's it. 10 minutes of just centering your energy, centering yourself, centering your mind, letting go of what's all around you, what's happening, what's not happening, and just being for 10 minutes. And check out guided meditations, you guys. Maybe I'll put a few in the description for you, okay? But you will be a different person. You will be a different person. You will release so much resistance, and it will be so much easier. You will find the peace in yourself that you're so convinced is in this desire. And you'll realize, oh wow, I have access to it. I've had access to this peace all this time, right? Meditate. Hobbies, okay? This is something that I kind of got into like towards the end of my specific person journey, because I was just so, you know, I had told you guys in a past video, I had a lot going on. And when my dad passed away, I was just like, I knew in that moment I didn't have a choice anymore. I had to prioritize my mental health or things were going to get really bad for me. And so I had to distract myself. And I did that like coloring. I love to color. I highly suggest anybody who's dealing with like anxiety or, you know, obsessing and things like that. Coloring is so good because it forces you to be present, right? And it's creative, so it feels good, right? I started doing like Sudoku. I started, you know, getting into maybe like some more shows that I wanted to watch, or learning Spanish, playing my piano, you know, things like that. Hobbies are really good to just give yourself something productive to obsess over. Shit, obsess over yourself, right? Make yourself your obsession, okay? And last but not least is subliminals. Detached subliminals actually help very well. And this is, I would highly suggest that for people who are very like mentally in chaos, because you don't need to do anything. You just put it on and it just goes right to your subconscious and helps you. And I have a good one that I will put in the description. But that is what I have for you guys. I'm intending that this prospers you all. If you guys would like to coach with me, there are links in the description. If you would like to join my specific person Light of Love group coaching for August, send me an email. And I think that's it. Like the video if you liked it, share it with somebody you think it will help. Subscribe, leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. And I love you guys so much. And I'm intending this helps. I know that it does. And I'll see you guys in a video soon.